the time has come for yet another important discussion during this Delhi Book Fair, and it is my honor to be able to launch all of you into this. And when we are kind of carrying ourselves forward for this webinar, literature and publishing in 21st century perspectives, I think we were approached by a Federation of Indian Publishers who have got us going, who have ensured that when the whole world is stopped, the wheel of knowledge does not stop. They have made efforts, like last year also, it was a very successful event. I mean, this is a second year in continuity, and it was launched yesterday. It was a big success. Millions of people have joined. Very important titles have come. And we thought that there has to be a active collaboration as far as industry and academia is concerned. IGNU, as all of you know, that has a course on PG diploma in book publishing. And we kind of, in terms of creating platform where the people studying literature, people studying art, humanities, and sciences, they also get a bridge course where they can launch themselves into the publishing world. So from that perspective, we thought that we will have a discussion going, and we will do a very important event to begin with. In this, I think we have the honor that we will go for a book release program, release component. And I can share it with you. This book is one of our speakers who is present here. And then this is Santhal folk dance songs, contextualizing art and culture, very important. And if I may read about this briefly, like it charts a hitherto unexplored epistemological terrain to study Santhali folk dance songs of Jharkhand as the primary subject matter and contextualize how the Santhali culture is getting manifested in its art form. This is very important. And like, the author has done it as a major research project, and he has gone to the grassroots. He has talked to people who have got our cultural tradition going. So this is a very important narrative, and I would like to, first of all, I would ask all the people who have joined through the panel and who are watching us on Facebook, YouTube, and other social media platforms to acknowledge this book, and then acknowledge the author also, Dr. Rajesh Kumar. I mean, may I also briefly introduce the other panel members. We have Dr. Saroj Mahananda. Saroj Mahananda is a creative writer. He's a teacher of English in Jamia Millia Islamia University. And then we have Dr. Dipender Singh Chauhan. He is a teacher educator, a person who has made a dent as far as knowledge and teachers training is concerned. So we will be glad to have him and then listen to him also in the process when we are discussing literature and publishing in the tough times, the corona pandemic time. So this is important, my dear friends. And when we are kind of releasing this book, I think it will be meaningful to listen to the author as to what went into his mind, what is he claiming, and how is it linked to the theme that we have identified for this occasion. Dr. Rajesh Kumar, it's over to you. Please take over and share your insights for this. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor Parmod Kumarji. And I take this opportunity also to thank all the organizers and also particularly Professor Parmod Kumar for having given me a chance to participate in this book fair discussion, and also giving me an opportunity to talk about the book which I have recently written, and also it has got published. To start with, let me talk briefly about what I have written all about in this book. This book happens to give us a new sense of an opportunity. And also it gives us a window to look at the Santhali culture, as Professor Parmod Kumar rightly read a few lines, that it looks at an unexplored, you can say, epistemological terrain, and it's kind of it refers to also a discrete realm of discursive practices of Santhali culture. And obviously, it also looks at the pragmatics of not only Santhali culture, but it also looks at the Santhal philosophy as well, And when I'm talking about Santhal culture, I have dealt with Santhali dance songs, which you really, display their culture in its multi-dimensional hues, okay? And these dance songs, which I have chosen, which I have worked upon, offer a kind of a window to peep into the world of the Santhals, okay, their lives, their customs, their culture, their traditional religions and philosophy, And what I observed is the fact that these dance songs have escaped the overpowering drive to civilize them, okay? And be it in the times of, you can say, pre-colonial times or colonial times, even you can say thereafter. But these dance songs are existing, you can say, in their natural forms. That doesn't mean that, that doesn't really suggest that the Santhal songs, you can say, have remained very static in their, you can say, price time forms. Nothing as such. It's a fact that gradual changes have also taken into, have crept into their different forms, you can say, but not to the extent of altering their soul and spirit, So, here, what I have found is, these are the various dance forms, you can say, which would be very helpful for the all research scholars who have been working in this field, you can say. It may also help those people working in the field of tribal studies, okay, who want to know more about tribal people, tribal culture. Okay, so see, what I've done is also that I've taken almost as many as 9 different dance song forms, And it has been evident through the study which I have done that Santhali songs are of various types, and some of them are, accompanied by music, say dance. There are songs which are accompanied by dance only. There are also songs which are not accompanied by dance, but they are simply sung in the society. Okay, so I have dealt with 9 principal varieties of songs, 9 principal varieties of songs accompanied with dance. Okay, they are sung along with the dance, you can say. So these are the 9 forms, you can say. The 9 forms of dance would include, you can say, Langre Sirin. This is known as Sirin. In Santhali, we call it Sirini. You can say Langre Sirin, you can say. Then we have Pata Sirin, Dagar Sirin. Okay. And Dong Sirin is, you can say, a form of a song which is sung during marriages. Okay, that's a Dong Sirin. Soharan is a very, very, very beautiful festival. Okay, it's kind of a harvest festivals during which the songs are sung. You can Soharan. And then we have Baha Soharan. You can say Baha means flower. So it's sung during a flower festival. Then we have Karam Sirins. I have dealt with Karam songs also, which point out to Karam festival, which has its origin, okay, in its mythological, you can say, stories. Okay. And thereafter, I've dealt with also Dasai Sirins. Dasai means it's a kind of, it refers to, Durga, you can say Devi Durga. So it's kind of a Durga festival, which is celebrated there. So songs which are sung on this occasion have been categorized, we can say, as the science song. And finally, I've dealt with Bir Siren. Bir Siren is a, you can say, a kind of like a forest song. Okay. So these are the various kinds of forms, you say, dance songs, which I have selected in my book. And I'm very hopeful that it is definitely going to help not only researchers, but also people from other disciplines of study. Okay, they will study and they will benefit from it. So I think I would not go beyond this. I will, and then we can talk about today's.
Yes,
yes.
Dr. Rajesh, very important. I think we will also respond to the questions if our participants have some ideas in their minds. I think this book that has come is important, like from the context point of view also. We are about to enter, we have entered the 75th year of our independence, and we have to seek an idea of India. I was attending another book release function also, where they talk, there's a book which has come, and everybody is saying that India has to evolve as a very mature, dynamic, democratic tradition. And such narratives, I think this will enable new structures of discourse and systems of multidisciplinary approaches and conceptual mechanism and strategies to promote, preserve the cultures and traditions of Santhali dance songs. I mean, you referred to the images. I mean, I think this adds to the beauty of the book in a big way. I can see that, and it sticks to our hearts and our minds. Very important. So yes, when we are talking about the connection between the academia and then the industry, I mean, book publishing is not fundamentally an activity which is about profit making. It is largely, fundamentally, I say that, when we are discussing it, it's about a prime sense of social responsibility. India is not a consumer market. India is not about creating, like, more kind of, like when we talk about the middle class, no, it's about identifying our roots as a knowledge economy. That is very important. I would request Dr. Saroj Mahananda, like, how do we place ourselves, situate ourselves in the 21st century, when everyone is saying that it will be Asia's century, it will be Indian century. How do we look at, like, and particularly in the times of pandemic, how do we negotiate with the issues and perspectives which are coming our way? Kindly enlighten us and all the people who are connected to us through the digital ways. Dr. Saroj Mahananda ji, please.
Thank you, Professor Parmod. It's a wonderful session, and I must acknowledge my thankfulness to the organizers and the Delhi Book Fair and organizers and Professor Parmod, our good friend, to have initiated this topic. And in fact, there couldn't have been a better beginning to this than having the book release of Dr. Rajesh ji, and in fact, and with the special what you say, one can have this gift, special gift in the sense of the book being on Santhali tradition, culture, dance. So there couldn't have been a better beginning than this. In fact, I am really, really happy, glad to be part of this. And coming now to the question, rather, I wouldn't say that to be a question. That is an open thinking that all of us are engaged in. So that's how it's not exactly a question, and then that's how I won't take that to be a question. Rather, I would consider that to be a kind of pointer towards some of the other things, other kind of elaborate thinking that we go on to do in our day-to-day engagements with reading literature, receiving literature, and publication of it. So when I approach this, the issue of reading literature, publishing literature in 21st century, when we are driven, or rather ravaged by something called this pandemic, and when we look forward to, despite this, when we look forward to have India to be the global hub and the guru of the future generation, future time, and so to say, so in that context, I have two basic things that immediately come to my mind. One is maybe the contribution or the role of publication in developing or affecting literariness, and another is literateness. So there are two terms that come in. One is literary, another is literary, and from that word literary, we have literarization. Another is literate, from which we have the being literate, the idea of being literate. So publication industry has a huge role to play in making people literate and making people literary. So unless you have these two aspects being addressed to, then no culture, no publishing culture, no literary culture, no knowledge society is possible. So when we look at this literate, being literate, the idea of being literate or spreading literacy, and the idea of spreading literariness, literature, the quality of being literary. When we address these two things, then all of the things would converge. Because publishing it, unless you have publishing industry, you will not have this. So when you say who is a literate person, someone who knows how to speak and write and read, it's a literate person. So in a Bakhtinian kind of setup, speaking means words. Speaking means language. When you speak, you create a language. You speak, you create meaning. But Bakhtinian setup is a theoretical setup. So when it comes to the real world, the speaking would actually invariably get reflected, should get reflected in the written word, the published form. So that's how Bakhtinian world would have to visit to our ground reality, the books that are published, the materials, study materials that are published, literary materials that are published. So the theoretical Bakhtinian world, where speech makes for everything, makes for everything in and around meaning, and in fact is behind meaningfulness of life. So that thing has to be drawn into, that has to be brought into the ground reality. And which component of our life or which aspect of our life takes care of that? Publication side, publication industry takes care of that. So that's a publication industry is burdened with a huge challenge in future. And this challenge also is a kind of opportunity. So maybe as we move on in our discussions, maybe later on we can do. So we can maybe proceed. So right now, I just kind of bring to you these two ideas. One is being literate, and another is being literary. And how in these two components, publication industry actually has a huge role to play. So yeah, Professor Parmod, we can come back to this.
I think you have worked for this idea for a long time now, and about subaltern history, about subaltern aesthetics. You have, I think it is for the last 20 years, you are like a crusader, forging a new idea. And I think it's very important to listen to you. And I think you have started this in a very impressive way. You have set up the tone, and after, I think we can touch upon the major points to begin with, and then we can come back. And now, I think now we have another important learned person on the panel, Dr. Dipender Singh Chauhan, and I know him for a long time now, and he has also developed very important insights as to how human life, India as a country, and we as world citizens, and then the knowledge world. How do we kind of understand this, and how do we, in a way, simplify the complexities which have come our way? Dr. Dipender, I think your intervention would be significant, and everyone is so excited to listen to you. Please take over from here.
Thank you, Dr. Parmod. Thank you very much indeed. It's indeed a pleasure to be a part of this webinar where galaxy of educationists, I would say, present. And it's indeed a very enlightening session as I was listening to both of you, all the three of you. From general to specific, I'll try to move ahead. Delhi Book Fair, as we all know, it's an event which we all bibliophiles look forward to every year. And this is the 27th edition of Delhi Book Fair. We started on 3rd of September and will conclude on 5th of September, and the book lovers can rejoice latest editions on their glaring screens rather this time, rather than having the paperback all the way. And it's being hosted by Pragati, and it's the most awaited event when people congregate in Pragati Maidan or just to buy their favorite books. And this is there are a few statistics I would love to share with you, since it has been a big event. It needs a lot of uh, things to be discussed. It's the oldest book fair of India, which was started way back in 1972, right? And there are thousands of publishers, lakhs of titles, and it also aims to divert the attention of younger generation to focus more on reading, book reading rather, and rather than reading from the internet, right? So this virtual Delhi Book Fair, which is being organized by Federation of Indian Publishers, is indeed a very good step in the right direction. We have 360 degrees exhibition layouts, and we have a live video chat facility also. We have meeting schedulers where we can meet for trading and networking, and WhatsApp integrations, content games, interactions. And beyond all this, I would just say the Indian book publishing ecosystem has become more sophisticated and smart, cured erat demonstrandum, if I'm right. Now, moving towards the year 2020, the pandemic, it brought a paradigm shift, as all of you know, that in our lives, we were thinking differently, we were eating differently, we were living differently, and even we were reading differently, I would say. There was a survey by Nielsen report which says that the impact of COVID-19 on Indian book consumer, the reading time has increased from 9 hours a week to 16 hours a week. So this year was indeed a stranger than fiction. The fear of going out, unpredictable climate, contamination, sudden deaths. The readers, though, reached for non-fiction also, I would say. This try to seek answers in science, medicine, technology, self-help books, spirituality, history, just to figure out what their place in life before moving towards existentialism, Dr. Parmod, I would say. During pandemic, how the consumer consumed the media, how how we read, we found comfort in certain books. Reading habits and genre preferences changed, and we see the impact of coronavirus on the creative industry. We have yet to see that, what impact it will make. But definitely the patterns have changed, reading habits have changed, tastes and preferences have changed. And then another survey was there that a global English editing, it says that Indian read more than any other country during COVID, followed by Thailand and China. These are the amazing statistics. Printed book, another thing was printed book continued to derive more revenue, of course, than ebooks and audiobooks, despite the fact that technology was always 24/7 was present and ubiquitous. And 35% of the world read more, and still China, US and UK, they kept on dominating in terms of book publishing, and people were reading more than usual, right? So people focused on writing assignments also, the way Dr. Rajesh might have worked really well during the pandemic, and he might have given more time during the pandemic for this creative pursuit. According to Alliance of Independent Authors, Indian authors account for 30 to 40% of all. So these are the statistics which show us and just give some fodder for thought to think about. Okay, things really changed, and book publishing indeed has gone through a great phase. Now coming to the part, although I'm sitting with the very veteran people in the field of literature, so it's very difficult to speak about literature over here. But still, as a layman, or as a person who has been associated with some training programs for long, I would say literature actually helped all of us a great deal in calming down our nerves during the pandemic. Literature improved our minds, imparted the wisdom. It might sound cliche, but it's a fact that reading affects the brains. And bibliotherapy has gained momentum, popular form of therapy over the years. So multiple studies have also discovered this, that it maintained a positive change. Content of the book, the themes, and that capped up how we coped up the anxiety, the loneliness, the alienation, which cropped up during the pandemic. So I would just brief on this that there was a journal of consciousness studies which revealed that it's a very important revelation. They said that healthy dose of poetry and prose, that is fiction, can provide a rigorous workout to both right and left hemisphere of the brain. Left hemisphere, which is associated with logical side of the brain, which means words, numbers, sequences, and analysis, and right hemisphere, which is associated with creative pursuits, imagination, insights, daydreaming, and intuition. So
Yes.
reading fiction played a very crucial role in preventing cognitive aging. We were missing all these things, and nature actually it actually helped us a lot. And then again, according to a research published in there was another neurology journal, those who regularly read 32% lower rates. So there are a couple of studies, and you would be surprised to know that there was another organization, Mind Lab International, which showed that which is the common hobby and for relaxation. Surprise, surprise, surprise. Reading was on the top during all these years. So multiple studies have discovered that reading increases social awareness, empathy, and
Yes.
reduces the prejudices also, as Dr. Parmod was just talking about. Another study published in journal Sciences, which revealed that reading literary fiction improves the ability to understand perspectives, beliefs, views of the people. You people, and because we read evocative fiction, we experience emotions, mental states, and scenarios. Another journal, before I conclude, a scientific journal says plus one, which we read when we read fiction, our brain displays the same neurological patterns that happens when we actually are experience the reality. So these are the things which were experienced. So there were a few things and a few facts and statistics about how people read and during all these things. And but they were really hard times. People lost their lives, people lost their jobs, people had very tough times. But still, it was high time to seek a meaning for yourself. Now I'm turning towards a new term which Gabriel Markle coined. You all are very well aware of existentialism. We all had a point in our lives when we lost our near and dear ones. What is the purpose of life? We are losing people. People are suffering like anything. So everybody was trying to seek an answer of all those existential questions which were coming to their minds. It was a philosophy, and rather not philosophy, it was a cultural movement, as you all know, post-World World War II, that explores the problem of human existence. And it was 19th and 20th century European philosophers, Soren Kierkegaard. The term, although was first applied to Jean-Paul Sartre, and though he rejected this term, which later on he accepted and embraced this term. And it was also called the cafe philosophy because after World War II, few things happens. People lost their lives, and same kind of situation existed the way it existed in the post-pandemic times. So Simone de Beauvoir, Albert Camus, The Ethics of Ambiguity, written by Simone de Beauvoir, Albert Camus, The Myth of Sisyphus. You all might have read that. People just kept on working. They was kept on struggling through their lives, helping people, each other, and just feeling that only the struggle, only the action, only through the action they could seek the meaning of their lives. So existentialists actually believe that people make decisions not just based on rationality, but rather this is subjective. This is rather subjective, what we go through. So life has a meaning when rather we create a meaning. You must have read about
I think, Dr. Dipender, the way you are kind of talking about existentialism, there is I mean that the same sentiment is being
yes,
felt by the publishing industry also, in the sense that the world is stuck. Robots are writing news script. I mean, if you
right,
look at
right,
Washington Post and another
right,
newspapers, I mean, digital
right,
press and everything. So it's
yes,
it's a kind of like, I mean, what Camus says that, man being thrown into the orderless universe.
Absurdity.
I
Right,
mean,
right.
we can see a kind of linkage, very close
Right.
link.
Right. This is true. Actually, as you see, and all the federation of these publishers would agree that there are two themes they have decided, and one is a mental health. And when mental health is not just a very small term; it's a very big term. Mental health means how we suffered and how we have to cope with it, and how we are going to sustain it, we are going to take our life ahead. So these themes actually they are very similar to the themes when existentialism was there. The alienation, kind of alienation. You're together, but something is missing in your life. You know? There is a feeling of anxiety. People are dying. People are hospitalized. When you are just consuming the media everywhere. The news being flashed are all about the misery, the kind of suffering which was around. So this was a really strange time, and we really coped up really well. And that's what I'm saying. People turned towards reading, and reading habit definitely increased. And uh, uh, because reading habit increased, there was a great sale of statistics. Also say that the numbers also say that even these paperbacks sold more rather than other books. And before I conclude, Dr. Parmod, please give me just one more minute to explain one book which I read and tried to read, although it's a very complicated book with some complex language. It's a book by Viktor Frankl. You must have read about it, and you must have definitely heard about this. With Man's Search for Meaning. Man's Search for Meaning.
Yes.
It was written by Viktor Frankl, and how it helped people. Viktor Frankl was actually a concentration camp survivor, and how he could maintain the inner freedom, how he
Yes.
faced the situation. And throughout his life, throughout his journey in the concentration camp, how he was able to still stick to it. What was his purpose of life? Whether will it end? He lost his parents, he lost his family members, and in the same way, during that struggle, he kept on searching for life. And
Yes. Yes.
this is a wonderful book. I would suggest and recommend to all people who are watching this program, The Man's Search for Meaning. It will definitely give some respite to your nerves. And
I think what you are trying to suggest, that just like after the World War turmoil and
yes, yes,
that problem,
yes.
literature played a role. I mean,
A very
even today
effective role.
also, when we are this existential crisis that we are facing,
Hmm.
the world of literature has a definite role to play, and that will be the saving grace. I think we can go to your knowledge, inputs as far as existentialism, and then the other aspects that you touch upon will be very significant. Dr. Saroj, I mean, would you like to kind of expand on the point as to how Indian knowledge systems, and then India has to kind of firmly place itself, like and now those days have gone where there used to be a difference between Indian book and the foreign book. Indian publishing industry has come a long way, and now it has established itself as a global giant. But how do you see yourself as far as the kind of huge kind of, you can say, big explosion of knowledge that have taken place in the last 2 to 3 decades?
Yeah, in fact, that would be the continuation of the earlier thing that I was saying. In India, we are placed in, there was a time when there was used to be this third world, this world, XYZ world. But today, that first world, second world, third world actually doesn't hold. India turns out to be the place for the present as well as for the future, considering the large variety of the kind of socio-cultural wealth that we have, the large variety of historical as well as the futuristic that goals that India can have. India will definitely turn out to be the leader. And that's how, as the government of India also keeps saying Vishwaguru. So in fact, in order to do that, the Indian publishing industry, how does the Indian publishing industry work it on the ground? So some of the important things are, in fact, as we pointed it out in the beginning, that what better could be the beginning for this kind of session than have Dr. Rajesh publication of things about Santhal. So India has this richness. Each nook and corner of this country, every nook and corner of this country is filled with all those riches and cultural riches. And in fact, for example, I am here right now. I'm here in Sambalpur, Kalahandi, and so which is historically speaking, the place is known as this Koshal area and all those things. Some people here, they try to actually go for this Koshal Ganarajya and all those. So even if I forget about that for a moment and say that I am here, situating here and connecting with you in this through this medium, this itself actually is some kind of indication that that barrier is no more. Publishing industry can reach out. This media, the way the media has gone, and that's how publishing industry can go. Anything, for example, if I have to write something about this particular place, Sambalpur, here you have this Gandhamardhan Hill, and I write something about the for example, the Ayurvedic stuff that are found in Gandhamardhan Hill. So that itself turns out to be something, very, it's an addition to Ayurvedic and all those stuff, and which in today everybody in the West is looking forward to herbal medicines and all those things. This is one. And yes. This place again with this ground reality, maybe I can again touch upon the thing that Dr. Rajesh had done up. This area is also an area which is full of, Gond tribe, Kondh tribe, Binjhal tribe. So my place is a place which is filled with different tribes. So if I have to bring out the knowledge system, indigenous knowledge system of those people, the tribal people, indigenous people, and bring it to the people, not just in Delhi, but even to the outside world, the world can have a look. They can actually, they would be forced to reckon this. They would be forced to look at this and say, this is something. So there used to be a time when we were somewhere in the corner. But now it's no more that thing. The center has fallen apart, and but the center cannot hold. It's not the case. It's the center can still hold. Every place is a corner. Now sitting in Kalahandi, Sambalpur, Bargarh, I can say that this is a center. I'm speaking to people from Delhi and people across the world. So this itself, that's how that's what we can, and the publishing industry can actually work as. And when I say that thing, I'm as a literary person, someone who does little bit of scribbling. So I'm saying I am in association with the publishing industry, and Dr. Rajesh and you, Professor Parmod and Dr. Chauhan, all of us are in the process of writing and documenting things which were heretofore they were not there. So the publishing industry can take this forward, and they can be well enriched for this.
Absolutely. Yeah. Like, I think
absolutely.
Yeah, Dr. Rajesh, like you are basically saying that through the book that there are alternative intellectual traditions, and now the time has gone where we used to idolize ourselves as intellectuals. Now there has to be people who will play the role of public intellectuals. I think we will listen to you on that. Yes.
Yes, I think one of the very, very important points which we are missing is the fact that now when we try to contextualize literature and publishing world with the present world, the fact that today's world is an era of artificial intelligence. We can call it digital literacy. It's an era of digital literacy, or we can also use another term, we can say media literacy. And when we talk about digital literacy, it's very, very important. What I have realized is, that we are living into this digital literacy. And digital literacy, is an ability to, use information, communication technologies to find, evaluate, you can say even to create, communicate informations, requiring both things, you can say cognitive as well as you can say technical skills. So when we talk about, digital, digital literacy, it has got, 2-3 points which we've got to understand, you can say. There are some experts, who say that this is not enough digital literacy, but digital literacies, Why? Because these are, literacy is kind of literacy which are conveying the many facets of what we are reading, what we are writing in the modern era, or this modern era. And, I remember, there is a professor whose name is Hiller Spires. He's from North Carolina State University, who has done a research in this era, in this area, particular area of digital literacy. He says that digital literacy is having, 3 buckets. Number one, it deals with kinds of finding and consuming digital content. Number 2, creating digital world, digital content. And number 3, communicating or sharing this digital content. Now, what do we understand by finding and consuming this point? You can say by consuming means, you can say it's the same as, reading print. Reading a novel, suppose you are reading a novel on the basis of, suppose, an e-reader, which we are all having. So now in today's world, people are always referring to these e-readers, you can say. We are having PDFs, you can say. So these are the things which are requiring, you can say, requiring some skills also, like how to turn the device on and off, how to flip pages, you can say, back and forth, you can say. Suppose you are reading a PDF. So simply reading a PDF is almost equivalent to reading a book. So what we need nowadays is to have some more important skills apart from reading skills. Suppose you are reading a newspaper. So that is equivalent to reading a book. Okay. So what we need to have is obviously extra skills, you can say, what will be, which will be in the form of, you can say, having the knowledge of using, suppose, or making use of medias, okay, making use of some videos, making use of certain other, you can say, equipments which can be helpful in using this, you can say. So that is one category. Now, number 2, when we talk about creating content, because this is based on reality, which I have observed during this time, you can say. When you talk about, you can say, creating content, digital literacy also refers to, I would say, the content creation. What do we understand? This content creation, it's very much related to publishing also, like, which includes writing in digital formats, such as like email form. Today, you can say blogs, tweeting, you can tweets, as well as creating other forms of media, you can say, such as, you can videos, podcast, you can say, okay. And these are the, skills which are giving an author. Suppose I have written a book. So if I'm making use of these digital skills, these are giving me, kind of a form of a social power. And let me give an example of this, how this social power is existed. Like example of, if you remember, all of you do remember the whole incident of the Black Lives Matter, you can say, how students, activists, they shared their messages about the Black Lives Matter, you can say, movement through YouTube videos, you can say also. So this is how, today's students, today's people are making use of this digital, technologies, okay, digital technologies. Okay, they also make use of it for sharing and communicating with other people as well, okay, with other people as well. Okay, so okay, very so important. The point which I'm making is here that this digital equipments really is are helping a lot of readers, students, you can say, writers also. Okay, fine. And finally, see, what I would say is today's an era which is giving importance to a lot of professionalism, and suppose today's author, be it a reader, an author needs to have a personal digital brand, you can say. And today's readers also, even writers, they need to have Adobe InDesigning training, okay. Absolutely. There is another word which can be used as digital marketing course, you can say. That's why we are offering these publishing courses, you can say, which really help to develop new competencies, you can say, in areas such as marketing, you can say the practical elements of, you can say, editing, practical elements of producing work, you can say, and the business aspects of contemporary publishing things, you can say. So, I mean, these are the things which are really helping today's authors also to, you know, enhance their experiences in areas, you can say, including editing, or you can say copy editing, designing, producing works also. So I think this is a very, very important perspective we need to
Dr.
add.
Rajesh, like, yes, very important, very articulate and very meaningful intervention. I mean, towards the end of the session that we have, I would request our panel speakers to, you know, I mean, give their final remarks, like 1 minute each, please. Dr. Saroj.
Yes, to sum up, actually, we have a lot of things to do, and publishing industry has to really democratize whenever it has kind of fallen short of, and those areas of elitist and non-so elitist kind of things have to be forsaken, and so that is the kind of last final that I would request.
21st century means, I mean, it's knowledge for all. Everyone holds knowledge, and recognizing that sense of symbiotic relationship.
Yes.
Dr. Chauhan, please.
Thank you, Dr. Parmod. In fact, I would just endorse the views presented by Dr. Rajesh that technology is indeed, its importance cannot be undermined. This will actually bridge the gap between the Indian publishing industry as well as the authors. And just to reach the larger chunk of the people, we need to integrate technology in this field. So we just cannot undermine the importance of technology. And in this ecosystem, Indian publishing ecosystem will be successful and will go great guns in the days to come only if the author themselves will keep updating themselves and they will be more techno-savvy rather than just going beyond the paperbacks. We need to, as Dr. Rajesh suggested, that all the PDFs, e-readers, podcast, and everything. So rather than just having one view, I would just say these things will matter in next couple of years. And cliche it may sound again, books are indeed man's best friend, and they always will be.
Yes, and I would like to thank all my best friends.
This is my final remark. Happy reading, all of you.
I mean, yes, this is session may close. I mean, we would like to communicate that intellectuals, all teachers, you know, are there to strengthen the hands of the publishing industry, and we will do as far as whatever our responsibility is to, you know, kind of to give that academic input to, you know, whatever is required. We are in the process of starting the MA in publishing also. So we'll do whatever is due from our end, and we will collaborate, we'll join hands, so that, you know, all the important points which have come through our speakers, that this idea of knowledge exchange has to be seamless, has to be democratic, and has to meet the pace of the times, and all the problems of I think the onus is with youths are, you know, we often talk about demographic dividend, and they need to stand up and they need to take up the responsibility, and Indian publishing industry has to stand tall and make itself count. Thank you very much. We'll stop here. We'll connect with all our viewers once again for one more round of discussion. Thank you very much. And thank you, Pragati, the platform, the FIP, and the huge effort which has gone into making of this event. And on a collective note, I would congratulate, wish them all the success in their endeavors. Collectively, we will make a better society, a better nation, and a better world. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Parmod. Thank you, all the panelists.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.